So we will receive a project. Once we receive a project, user stories will be created. Once the user story is created, developer will pick it up and he will work on the story by story, right? So once the developer is implemented, once the developer is done with the changes, now he has to push the changes to the different org. When I say different org, what are the orgs will be there? Now, what are the sandbox? What are the, like a production we have it? Usually in the production, we will not do the coding, right? So what are the different type of sandboxes I can create it?
Full sandbox, developer pro sandbox, and developer sandbox. Partial sandbox.
Sandbox, partial.
Production copy sandbox, in copy sandbox.
And dev sandbox. Now, in this case, developer will be working on either developer pro and dev sandbox. Now, once this is done, now the developer has to push it to the QA sandbox. QA sandbox is usually it is a partial sandbox. Now, in the partial sandbox, how do you push it? There are different ways to do the deployment, right? Now here, whatever the code we have implemented, possible that we have made a changes to the admin level, workflows or a process builder or a lightning flows. I have implemented some lightning flows and then I have implemented a Apex classes, right? So we have implemented some code, we have created it. Now this metadata file, whatever the changes which I have done it, has to push it to the another sandbox. Right? So which all are the ways we can push it? There are different tools are available in the real time. Either we will use the GitHub or we will use the Visualforce or we will use the Ant migration. Note down these terminologies. They will ask.
Is it a VS Code, ma'am?
Yeah, sorry, Visual Studio. I always get a confusion between the visual. Okay, so Visual Studio, Ant migration, and then we have a Copado. Bitbucket. Source string. And then we have a DevOps also available. Workbench. Yes, we can do it, but that's the last option, Workbench. Right, so here, these are the different ways. These are the different tools. Now they might use a Copado. Few companies will use a Copado, few companies will use migration, few companies, most of the companies will be using the GitHub. GitHub, they will be using it. Now let's say here, now you have to move your changes to the GitHub. Now before moving the changes to the GitHub in the real time, whether it is a Apex code, whether it is a LWC, whether it is a Aura, they will be using the IDE called Visual Studio. Even Apex classes also, they will implement in the Visual Studio only. Now, I have not discussed this Visual Studio setup for the evening batch. So we will do that setup. Probably on Monday, we will do that setup. Okay. Now, even Apex classes also, we will be writing in the Visual Studio in the real time. Nobody will be using the developer console, Salesforce developer console. We will not be using it. Why I'm teaching it? Because so that you will be aware of some kind of a code. Once you are used to be that line of a code, then you can jump onto the Visual Studio and write your code. So for a practice purpose, we are doing in the developer console. But in the real time, our every code, even single code, if you want to write it, you have to open the Visual Studio. Developer console, no. Don't touch the developer console in the real time. Now, whatever you are implementing it, everything we will be writing here in this. So this is, let's say this is one. So this is the class we have written. Assume that some class we have written here. Now we want to move this class. Let's take account handler. Right. So we want to move this class to the. Now, if you want to push this changes to the sandbox, another QA sandbox. Now, if you want to push these changes to the QA sandbox, there are a couple of steps you have to follow. Now, what you are doing it from the dev sandbox. Dev sandbox to the, you are moving to the QA sandbox. Right? So, in order to move your changes to the different or different sandbox, now what are the steps that we need to do? First, whatever the latest changes, the changes you have made into the class. So changes are updated. I updated the class. You have updated the class. Now, whatever the updated class is there, first pull that changes into your local system. Local system. Pull that changes to the local system. Means how you will be doing it by using the Visual Studio. Connect your Visual Studio to the Salesforce or pull the entire package.xml to the local system and then pull this into the your local system, your local, right? So once this is done, now you have a application mediator. Mediator is, these are the mediators. Could be a Git, could be a Ant migration, could be a Copado, could be a Bitbucket. These are the mediator. Using this mediator, that means using the, we have a GitHub here. Now, when you want to connect here GitHub, now first you need to connect the Git from Visual Studio. In order to do this, first you need to download the GitHub. You need to have a GitHub in your system. Download the GitHub. Now, easy way to download is when you go to this, there is an icon here, source control. Icon which is called source control. Click on the source control and you will be able to see download Git for Windows. If you are using a Mac, download Git for Mac. If you click on this, it will open up the page. So this is, you have some options to download the Git. So that means you are installing some application in your system. Once it is installed, set up everything. This we will do it in our session. Now, once this is done, now I'm not going in depth here, just at the high level. Now, you need to connect the Git from Visual Studio. Once the connection is enabled, right? Now you have to first pull from Git. Pull whatever the original changes are there. Whatever previously you have modified it, keep that changes file separately. Do not override. So first you need to pull it from the GitHub. That means your original, whatever the original classes are there, that will be bring it into the Visual Studio. Now in the Visual Studio, once you pull this, modify your file, which are the file you are thinking it, modify it. Once it is modified it and everything successfully stored it, then you have to push it to GitHub. After push, it will ask you, do you want to commit these changes? Changes to Git. Changes to Git. So pull, modify, push, commit. These are the activities we will be doing it in the real time. Pull the changes, modify it, push it, commit it. That's it. Everything this happens through the Visual Studio. Now, how your Git looks like? Now, Git will be Just now I have created this. So I just created Samskar IT. Okay. Now you need not to create a Git in the real time. It is already there. Setup, everything will be there. Company will be creating it. But if you are assigned to the multiple project, check your repository. Right. So if it is a project Yamaha, and if it is a maybe the health industry, or if it is a mobile, like you will be having a based on the project, the repository will be there. So go to that particular repository. When you go to that particular repository, here you will be able to see main is the one where the original files are there. Original changes are there. Branch is the one if you are having a 4 developers are there. Right? Now every developer will be creating a one branch. So that branch is dedicated to you. Whatever the changes you do, push it to that branch and commit it to that branch. Now, whoever the technical architect or whoever is there, they will review it and push the changes. Right. So once you push it, you will be able to see here. Now, I just did it 1 hour back. So here, these are the changes which we will be getting it. So for example, here, if I open this file, this is the XML file. So this is the how you will be able to see your code here. Right? So if you want to download this raw file, you can download it from the Git also. And if you want to edit it directly in the Git, you can edit directly in the Git. Now these all steps we will see later, but this is how your changes will be there in the Git. Git is nothing but a, what is Git here? Git is nothing but it's a version control. Git is nothing but version control. Version control. Now version control is nothing but it will hold previous changes, current changes, both. Right? What was the previous and what is the current? You can monitor it. That means once you updated the file, you can compare your file both. You can add the previous file and the current file, you can compare it. So whoever is reviewing the code, they will be reviewing the code based on the what was the previous one. Like it will show here. Now in case if you have deleted anything, now update this is what I have updated it. It is updated. Now it will show if it is for the technical architect, you will submit it to the code review. So when you submit it to the code review, here it will show something called plus button. That means it is added. This line is added. Minus, that means this line is removed. So this kind of a hint the person will be, whoever is doing the code review, the person will be, by looking at that, they will be able to identify how many lines we have added, how many lines we have removed it, what is the changes. So they will review it and they will approve it. Change it.
We edit here.
By default, it will not. That's what I'm saying. We have to pull these changes. So our steps are pull, modify it. So if you have modified it, pull it to the Visual Studio and push it to the Salesforce. Because GitHub is a separate application, Visual Studio is a separate application, Salesforce is a separate application. So we have 3 things here. So here we have a Salesforce. This is the Salesforce. Now this is in the Salesforce. We are connecting. First, what we are doing is we have another application in system. We have downloaded the Visual Studio. From the Visual Studio, we have connected to the Salesforce. Once it is connected from this Visual Studio, what I am doing is I am pushing it to the Git. I am pushing this to the Git. Now, ultimately, this Git, what are the main changes are there? Once it is approved, the person will be moving these changes to the Salesforce. Using the change set or some other way, they will be moving the changes here. Now, Git is nothing but it's a version control. All your changes will be controlled there.
I have one question here. Swapna
Yes.
ma'am? Yeah. So my question is, suppose two developers are working on the same methods, on the different user stories they are working, and it is connecting to the same method. So how we are going to make sure like what both of them taken the latest code and then they are just pushing the code, so it can clashes the code, right? So
So here we have a main method. Main method is nothing but a original code. Inside the main, we have a branches. Branch 1, branch 2, branch 3. Right? Now, once the developer is completed, they have to push it to their own branches. Now, assume that here one more developer is working on the same class. Now, in the real time, what we do is, whatever the changes you are doing it, always take a backup of that changes. Because next day when you come, your changes will be overwritten. There is a schedule here. Schedule or a person will be always daily job is that whatever the original code is there, push that original code to all the sandboxes. So that's the reason whenever you are making a changes, take a backup of your code. And then next day when you come, you will see the original changes on top of it, add it and complete it and push it the changes. Or else few companies, what they will do is whatever the changes you have completed, end of the day, you have to push it to the Git. Push it to the Git. Whatever the changes it might be, push it to the Git. And next day morning, it will be taking that. In case if there are any conflicts between the developers, they will be discussing on the next day. But always better to take the local copy of your changes.
okay.
Now we can get the code. Next it means
One question, ma'am. When we are pushing the code to
just a second, Jay Shankar. Offline is having any questions. So all the errors you can see here in the GitHub. If you have any error, immediately it will show here this is having an error. Okay, so if there are any errors, it will not allow you first of all, and it will be there in your own branch. You are not merging to the main. So once you push the changes to your branch, from the branch again, there will be somebody will be pushing to the main branch. So main is the original, branch is the copy of it. Yes, Jay Shankar.
yes, ma'am. My question was answered.
Okay. Okay. Feeling sleepy, confusion. Yes. Any confusion? Any questions offline?
We can create a state
Yes.
so that one person will upload or
But you three will be connecting to the same or
same.
yeah. If you are connected your own org and he is connected different org, two orgs cannot be connected to the same project. Yes. Same org. You three use same org, connected to the GitHub, and then create you three members created different branches. And then push it. Technical architect or whoever is the lead is there. Solve for today's session.